What's up, guys? Jason here from the Table Monkeys, and today I'm just going to do a quick video recapping my matches from the PAL event this past Saturday. The Table Monkeys as a whole, we showed up awesome and we did great. There were a lot of great wins. We ended up with a lot of medals and trophies, and there's going to be tons of really good footage coming out recapping all that. But I wanted to go over my matches specifically because I just did videos about peaking and warming up and all that stuff, and now just to see, how did the tournament actually go. And kind of the last thing with the tournament that I would do is right at the end of it is basically go through all the footage, go through all the matches, and start taking notes and noting like, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? So on and so forth. Because it's the most fresh in your head, like it just happened. I give myself obviously the night and a bit of time to decompress, but for the most part, the first thing I'm doing is watching the footage to figure out what I need to work on, where I made my mistakes, and then that'll help me finalize my planning for the next peak, which obviously is going to be Ian coming up on May 7th. So I'm going to play all the matches now, and I'll show you all the right-hand matches just in succession. Then I'll talk about them and kind of go over what happened. And then I'll play all the left-hand matches, then talk about those matches and go over what happened. And yeah, so here we go.
Like it there, I'll like it.
Go! Damn! Oh!
A little bit more here. Just here.
Go!
Stop! Taking it every time. Leave it there. Ready, go!
Stop!
What up? Go! Watch your elbow. Watch your elbow.
Keep your wrist, keep your wrist. Do a Gennady. Just hold him there, Lewis. Oh yeah, go sideways. Yeah, push. Keep your shoulders. Keep climbing, Jason. Keep climbing. Keep your shoulders. Stand up quick. Go. Stop. Stand up. You gotta do it fast, Jason. Come on, Jason.
Oh, it's in. Ready, go!
Stop! Not today!
Through there. Straight here. Leave it there.
Ready, go! Get in there, Jason. Get in there! Get in there! Get in there!
Get tight, yeah, get tight.
Let's go, Jason! Let's go! Forward! Let's go! Get that position! Win! Yeah!
Fuck yeah! Yeah, thank you.
I want to pull both of you, Jason.
Yeah,
I'm going to be burnt as hell. I want to know.
let's do it.
Take everything, Jason.
Get to that strap.
Shoulder, Jason. Talk to the ref. Go! That's not terms.
Look his shoulder, Jake.
And your winner in men's left 78 kg
Stay.
is Brody.
Shoulder contact.
Second place,
Yeah.
Ben. Third place, Emilio.
He's fucking
And fourth
touching
place,
my
Yeah,
Ryan.
Jason. Let's
My
go.
shoulder isn't over center.
If it's touching, it's touching. Doesn't matter. Foul.
Stay on your side of the fucking table then.
I'm not crossing.
Why don't you top roll, Bill?
The men's left
Why don't you top roll?
kg.
You can't take his hands.
Go back down, Jason.
JW versus Dylan. On the B side, I have Devin versus Dan. You guys are on deck. So JW and Dylan to the table, please.
Let's go, JW.
I'm not taking a grip on your side of the fucking table.
Oh, my hands.
That's good. I like that. Go, Jason.
Feel the wrist.
He's pushing the wrist. I need this wrist. I might want my fucking thumb.
Shoulder. Shoulder.
Go, Jason. It was fucking buried, man.
Oh, you driving up. My hand is right here. I can tell if you're driving up.
Shoulder.
Leave it right there. Ready, go!
Stop. Elbow.
Elbow. Oh,
No, it wasn't.
yeah, it was.
All right, guys, so going over the right-hand matches. First match I had was with Jordan. Jordan is from Ottawa. He's a newer puller. He's pulled at a couple BAL events. that we had before. He had a great match with Mike Smith, who's one of my better training partners. Throw a card up the window for that match. You should go check it out. So he's a solid puller for sure. But I felt good in the setup, and I just went with the post, and I just had more than enough containment to control his riser. So it was an easy day from there, which kind of gave me a good boost of confidence because I know he's not weak. I know, like, if I'm where I think I am, I should be able to do what I did to him there. So it was like, okay, yeah, things are lining up good, should be okay. Then my next match was with Lewis, and this was where kind of like decision-wise, we kind of made a bad choice. We had talked about it, and we had made the decision that, like, all right, look, if we get stuck against each other again, because it happens in tournaments a lot where we end up against each other, and it's just the same thing that happens in practice. I end up having to Kings move them, and eventually I get them. Sometimes I don't. But in tournaments, almost every time, it turns out exactly how this one went. It's a great battle. He is strong as fuck, and we were both feeling really good that day. So if I had to just lay down to him, I could have gone B-side, got a little bit more experience, and the matches would have worked out better. He probably would have ended up Final Four with me if I had gone B-side, based on how the rest of the matches went. So afterwards, we just realized, like, yeah, that was stupid. We talked about one of us laying down to each other, and because neither of us wanted to ask the other one to lay down, more or less, you know what I mean? Like, we were both willing to lay down for the other one, but neither of us wanted to be like, yeah, you lay down for me. So we just didn't lay down, and we ended up deciding to have a battle. And hindsight being 2020, probably a bit of a bad decision if we wanted to come out with more medals for Table Monkeys team. But either way, how did it go? Yeah, should have laid down. Then I didn't commit fully to the Kings move on the first one when I got to the strap. Like, I kind of wanted to see if I could just post over his hand, which for some reason with the strap on, with his back pressure and side pressure, that just never works. And it didn't work, so I ended up out in a Kings move, kind of sloppy, and got that quick elbow foul, which I wasn't intending to do. It wasn't like I tried to get out of the match and popped off the back. I just ended up retreating to that spot and got the foul. And those pads at the PAL are pretty tight and stiff, so I have to be more cautious on them. So the second time around, I did hit more or less to a Kings move, but then I was really patient with the Kings move, trying to make sure not to do any big jumps or recorrects or anything, and that's why I was so slow to transition. Basically, I had the riser game controlled. Once he drove and I felt his wrist starting to go back, then I just tried to get some cut back so that I could start to take a little bit of pronation, because once he's in his drive there, that really weakens the drive, and that allowed me to kind of get my shoulder back behind it and then pull him in for the pin. But anyway, we shouldn't have fought. I should have laid down to him. Looking back on it, how the brackets were organized would have made more sense. But then moved on to the finals. So the way they did it there, they run it down to the Final Four, and then you get a big rest, and then they go back to the Final Four. Not a huge fan of that, but that's how they do it. So I played the matches in succession, but there was a huge break. Like, all the left-handed matches happened down to the Final Four before we even went back and pulled the Final Four on right arm. So Final Four on right arm was Bill, Cameron, and myself on A side, and Yannick and Evan Burgoyne, I believe, on B side. So Yannick beat Evan in that one after Evan's arm was done after their super match and after actually making it to the finals in the tournament. And then Bill and I, first round. So Bill and I was too committed to the slip. It was just, it's like we make videos on it. I coach it all the fucking time. I talk about it all the fucking time. And then I made the same fucking mistake of committing to this and running and getting away and out and trying to run from from the center and from the match to get the strap, as opposed to creating a threat and allowing the strap to kind of happen, which I believe if I had have hit to the side and hit hard enough with enough pronation, which I think I had, I could have gotten at least to the strap, and I think in the strap the match would have gone a lot different. But either way, didn't do that. He got me in the setup somehow to commit to wanting to do this, and I did. And then he did exactly what he was supposed to, which was chop down on it. And once he went to chop down and I'm out here, there was just no way for me to roll out So felt stupid. Was like, all right, get your head back in the game. Like, what the fuck? And so then I had my match with Yannick, which was sort of my highlight of the day. Like, he's, you know, when I first came into pulling and everything, he was definitely way out of my reach, and to kind of control him the way I did, even though he had a super match and everything. At this point, we'd all been through the tournament. Like I said, he'd had plenty of rest before we were going again. So, and Evan had nothing for him the first round. So, so it was not fresh for fresh, but you know, we both have been pulling at that point. But either way, I was still a little confused in the setup. So just not, like I've said before, if you don't know exactly where it is you want to hit, that can mess your whole setup up. And that was kind of where I was getting confused, was thinking, okay, I want to post and get to the strap. And then in the setup felt like the post, maybe I was going to get contained again, or nervous because of what just happened with Bill. Because this match with Yannick would have been like about 30 seconds or a minute after my match with Bill. So I ended up, right as the go was like about to happen, I ended up creeping my shoulder back up and setting up high so that I can chop down exactly how Evan pulls Yannick. And that's basically all I did, was chop down, drop it into a hook, and then just kind of control the hook from there. He came off the pad way out. If he had stayed on the pad, it would have been a pin. He's sticky down at the bottom, but I had more than enough position, and I wasn't fatiguing. I was feeling very comfortable in that position. So, foul or not, that match was definitely going to be a win. And then it was on to Bill, second time around. And this time around, now I wanted to slip again, but then last minute, kind of the same thing as Yannick. I just, all of a sudden, I was like, no, I'm going to commit to the hook. So I kind of dove in the hook, but a little late and not where I should have set up. Like, looking back at the video now, I clearly see what I could do differently to try to set the hook better. Not that hooking with Bill is necessarily a great option, but for myself, I want to know that I can beat Bill in a hook, to know that my hook has gotten to that level, because his hook is really, really good, but he's also 220 pounds. I'm, almost 320 pounds. Like, that shouldn't be much of a match if my hook is any fucking good. So he said it's gotten a lot better. We pulled in the after pulling, and if I got, if I was more committed to it from the beginning and all that kind of stuff, like, there's definitely options there for me in the hook. What I should have done setup wise is set up with my elbow further back, not trying to get up and chop down on him, because he's shorter and he's trying to chop down on me. I should have set up a little bit further back, and then more of an uppercut, more of a like upward setting hook that we've talked about a lot on him, would have probably given me a better position in the start. And then I think fighting through the hook from there, I would have had a pretty good chance. But either way, that didn't happen. I got into a bit of a bad defensive hook. He got super, super tight. And one of the things I really got to figure out with my hook as well is, if you watch when Bill sets his hook, he commits his shoulder forward. His whole body is coming forward and over the table. And when I set my hook, I come across the table, but I don't really come towards my hand. I come like across and end up kind of like backwards like this. And I gotta fix that, where I'm actually coming towards my arm the way Bill does. And he comes so far forward that as I'm trying to like get that upward pressure and basically like realize my mistake and know, okay, if I had to set this way, I'd be in a better position. So now I'm fighting like up and forward like this. And because I'm fighting that way, my hand is getting close to his shoulder, because he's like so coiled up like this that he ends up getting a foul for contact with his hand on my shoulder. And I mean, he's sort of correct in saying that I'm touching him, because I am fighting in that direction, but it's not like I was pushing at him like this. And all the antics there on the table is totally both of us just fighting for control, which is really what the fight's about. When you're on the table, you're trying to fight for control of the situation. And that's what Devin talks about all the time, of like wanting to control the situation from the moment he sees the person at the event or at the venue or wherever they are. Like, from that moment until the end of the match, he's trying to control every conversation, every situation, and just kind of be the boss the whole time. And that's a big reason. That's why I rubbed the table down with chalk, which you won't really see in the videos because we don't have that far back in the setup. But the first thing I do is rub that table down with chalk, slap the table, and that rubbing the table down with chalk is like me remembering. It's like thinking about cleaning the pass as a chef. And like between each chit, you clean the pass down, and it's like, okay, next thing, this is I'm at work. I'm getting shit done. We're on fucking task right now. And this is my kitchen, you know? And that's kind of what I feel like when I rub the table down with the chalk and slap it. It's like, this is my table. It's fucking, I'm here to do what I got to do. I'm at work. I'm getting my shit done. And that's really, really important. And that's what both of us are fighting for in that situation, arguing back and forth, you know? So, but I kind of set it up where he's not going to try to hit for position or anything anymore. So he just hit for the pad the second time around. And I kind of made the same mistake again where I didn't really commit to coming inside. So I didn't set my elbow up back and I didn't come forward at all. I kind of set up post and then ended up like defensive hook with him, which was a stupid place to go. And he just able to just drag me out. So learning experience, he was definitely the better puller than me that day. But I think strength levels for sure, and he said so afterwards, strength levels are definitely there, and techniques getting better really quickly. So I think, you know, whenever I see him again, it'll hopefully go a little differently. So yeah, that was the right-handed matches. Now we'll move on to left-handed matches. And with the left-handed matches, for sure, it wasn't like the pop that I talked about that I had with Anthony 2 weeks prior. Definitely still feeling that a bit. And my hand felt good. My arm, like my back pressure felt pretty solid. But anything to the side didn't feel great. And with my hook, with my left now, it feels really good in a hook. So I ended up getting in this hook spot a lot. And definitely by the end of the day, realized like the arm was not 100% and probably shouldn't have pulled with it, but it'll be good by provincials, I think. And it definitely didn't get injured, but you know, wasn't 100% for sure. But here's the left-handed matches.
Right on. Ready, go. Stretch. Shoulder here.
Come on, Jason. Let's go.
Stay tight, time. Ready, go.
That's it, Jason. That's it, Jason. Fire up. Stop, stop.
Ready, go.
Yeah, stop. There we go. Fire up.
Come on, Jason. One more foul. You got it.
Here we go, Jason. Come on, Jason. Get that cup.
Stay close, stay close, stay close.
Oh, good, good. No.
Elbow. That's not good. Yeah. It's funny because I was really looking forward to my left more so than the right. Hopefully it goes back stronger.
Yeah. Yes, Jason.
Work it.
Oh. No. No. Stop.
All right, guys. So after all those excuses I made for my left arm, you can see it came out not too bad. I did make it, obviously, as I said in the beginning, I made it to second place and everything. So not too bad, but definitely didn't feel great. Definitely was way more beat up than I wanted by the end of it, and could definitely feel some spots like failing by the end that I didn't have left. So, but from the go, what I was trying to do was basically post out of everybody's hand. Like I said, my hand felt good and my back pressure felt good, so posting felt really good. And then once I was in the strap, post felt okay, but I'm feeling really good, like dropping into this defensive hook a bit and then pulling through from there feels really strong. And that's basically what I did to Jordan. It's like he probably felt kind of good for a second, like as he pulled on me, but then once he hits this spot and I pull back, it's just like, it just feels like a lot. So kind of the same as the first one, gave me a little bit of confidence. My arm didn't hurt too much after, so I'm like, okay, it's probably going to be okay. Lewis and I did the smart thing, decided to lay down, and then I had Tyler Robinson after that, and it was an awesome match. Tyler Robinson has always kind of been near the like 8, 9, or 10 spot on the 242 list for left arm, and the last time that I pulled him was like a year and a half ago at the Iron Arms event, and I was only like just a year into the sport at that point. And he beat me, but we got into a long King's move battle, and he was, bending my arm over and trying to press me to finish, and it was a grueling match. But he came out with the victory, and we haven't been able to pull since. So this was good to see where my left's arm at, if it's coming back to proper form or not. For the most part, I felt in control. Kind of the same thing, post out of his hand to get to the strap. Once I got to the strap, let him pull on it a little bit, and then tried to pull through. Not a great idea with him because he's really sticky at the bottom, and he's got great endurance. Like once he kind of finds a spot, he becomes really hard to finish at that bottom spot. So as I reset to finish, I get an elbow foul, which is totally a good call. And then so on the reset, it's like, okay, no fucking around. I want to let's just put him to the pad and like get to the next round. So I do that hit, and it goes well again. Once I was able to pull him a little bit out of position too quickly, then the finish comes kind of solid. So it slows down a bit, but for the most part, it was a solid straight to the pad pin. And then, like I said, the finals get done later and everything. So it was like a long time before we did the next round of finals. And by that time, the fatigue from that first round started to set in. Some of the pain was setting in a bit. So going into the first match with Evan, which I don't have all the footage. Obviously, you didn't get to see all the matches. So I'll explain sort of what happened. The first match with Evan was just a flash pin, and I felt my arm in the setup. I felt like, oh yeah, I've got nothing inside. Like my hand still feels okay, but any kind of like forcing inside pressure just felt like garbage. So that didn't feel good. I kind of tried to hang on a bit, but basically he just slammed me. Not like I let it go. I was trying to stop it, but I couldn't fight here. So I tried to just fight back, and with him, with how he pulls with his left, that wasn't a great idea. At least not that hit. Like I wasn't ready for it that way. And then was Yannick round 2, and he got a foul. I don't have all the footage, and I haven't seen all of it, so I can't remember exactly how the beginning part went. But I believe what happens in the first match. So we go to straps, post, and go to straps. And then in the first one, it's very similar. I try to post with him and kind of end up in the defensive hook, but he pulls me out a little too far. And as I drag back, he drags with me and drags his elbow off the back of the pad, which is a habit he has. So I'm pretty sure that's how that first elbow foul went. And then the second one, he does the same thing and I do the same thing. And as I get dragged out, I decide to post and roll and just kind of instinctively end up in my fucking King's move, which I've been really avoiding with my left hand just because mentally I don't feel confident out there, or haven't felt confident out there. But when I rolled, his hand gave out. I was able to roll out of it. And on the re-grip, you can't see it on our video, but it was clear on like he's down like this. And then when he comes up on the re-grip, another habit he has is to lift his elbow big time as he goes to re-grip. And those PAL pads are so hard that he might have only lifted his elbow this much. I don't know. I mean, it looked like a lot when I remember like it happening in the match. But still, he could have felt like he only lifted it this much, and then it looks like this much because the pads have no give. So they're really easy to commit those elbow fouls. So I kind of got lucky on that one because I don't know that I had enough to keep stopping him because he wasn't running out of horsepower. He was just losing his hand a bit. So he got his elbow foul and a win's a win. So I was happy with that. Then on to Evan. And now at this point, the King's move, like, it felt okay with him, and I didn't feel good going inside at all now. So I just instinctively roll out there with Evan. Do get a stop on the first one, and then he kind of lets me really sink into it a bit, and then he lets me know, he's like, all right, I'm gonna fucking hit it now. Are you ready for it? And I said, yeah, go for it. Like, that's why I'm here, basically. and it's questionable. Dave didn't call it, so it's not a pin, but if you look back on our angle, like it looks like my pinky might have broken the line a bit on the first one, but let's say the first one was a stop, the second one definitely slammed me, and I didn't have enough on the regrip. But again, I'll be, somewhat pleased with that, considering if I think my elbows and my arm was probably only at about like 85%. And I don't think his was super fresh either, Evan, because he had just had a super match with Devin a couple days, a few days earlier. We all saw Devin run through him like the way he just ran through me. So as you know, there are levels in this sport, and we're all trying to reach the next one. But that's the recap. Those are the notes that I've taken. So main thing for my left arm is just to rehab it. For my right arm is, at least for tournaments, I got to get better at adapting to the specific opponent at hand. In the setup a little bit more, being more receptive in what's going on in the setup. That's one thing that Alex is super, super good at. He's really good at reading the setup, but also dictating the setup. Like when you do see it, his match with Dave Hall, it's just his ability to manipulate the setup is really, really good. And it's all a skill. He's doing everything intentionally, and there's a way to learn how to do it. So I just need to be a lot more active on that part of the game, of being actively trying to control the setup and get what I want, and make sure that I can get where I want to get to, or take away what it is they want, one of the two things. So those are the main things. As far as strength for my right hand, strength-wise, it felt good everywhere. I just needed to get to good positions. I'm just going to keep working the game plan that I've had, working towards Ian, which I'll talk about more as we progress towards that match. But yeah, that's the way it goes. Plan for everything, then try to be as open-minded and as free-flowing as possible in the moment, and then recap by going over it all like a fine-tooth comb, and trying to pick through everything and figure out where and what you need to improve on. And it might not be in the gym. It might be in practice, in life, in setup, in your mind, wherever. So just be your own worst critic. It's the best way to get better, in my opinion. Anyway, that's the video. Hope you liked it. Leave some feedback in the comments. Like, subscribe, smash the bell, do all of those things. And monkeys out. Peace.